So today we are beginning a series of talks that we called the Chakra 2.0 series. And today we're talking about the first chakra. And the reason it's called 2.0 is, well, one, because I already did a whole series of information about the chakras, 7 chakras, not all of the chakras, obviously, just the 7 chakras that we normally look at. But what's interesting is like the previous talks I did were all about sort of experiencing them in relationships or in emotions or in the world, that kind of thing. But what's really been coming to me lately, well, a million things, because I really believe that our consciousness is shifting. I believe that the earth is evolving. I mean, these are all words that don't really make any sense, but I really, really feel that we're meant to be seeing the world differently. And it's really speeding up, like our ability to perceive our lives, society, each other. It's really quickening. And so in my yoga teacher training, it came time to talk about chakras. And I mean, I've taught about chakras for 20 years, but for whatever reason, there was this strong message that said, no, you have to look at them differently now. To the point that I know a lot of teachers have stopped teaching about them altogether. It's just like, no, we don't teach about those anymore. And that's really what I want to talk about today, is looking at them through a very, very different light. So one of the reasons we're going to talk about the first chakra, and one of the other big reasons about this 2.0 series that we're going to do, is very often our language says things like, well, my second chakra is blocked, or my first chakra is damaged because of my childhood, or because of abuse, or because of trauma that I've experienced. And so we internalize this damage from the outside world. And then we even go as far as, and this is just our language, and it's not a fault thing or something like that. It's almost been the language of our past. It's been the language of the spiritual movement since the 70s and 80s. And I think it was right at the time to consider it like that. But today, on this date in March of 2022, it's time to look at it differently. And the number one thing that I want to look at is, if you imagine the chakras, you imagine these whirling divine energy portals within us. Let's imagine that they are never broken or blocked or damaged or anything. They're perfect. Like, we are divine beings incarnate on this planet. We are infinite energy beings who have chosen to come to this earth and manifest in this curious space-time continuum, right? But that inner divinity, that inner connection is always whole. It's always complete. But what's interesting is we live on this planet with its curiosities and its difficulties and its pain and its cruelty and its fear and all kinds of things. So now suddenly you have this inner being, which is absolutely pure light. Every one of us is just pure light right now, sitting here. But we live in a world that isn't. And this is part of an awareness that I believe like we're ready for now, or at least it's coming through, so I assume we are. And I discovered a woman, her name is Cindy Dale. And I highly recommend her work. She's currently teaching. She's really, really interesting. And I came across her work in my prayers to try to figure out, well, what are we supposed to be talking about then? And she came up in my rabbit hole journey. And she introduced this idea. And what I'm talking about isn't necessarily her work. Like, so I don't want to pretend that I'm teaching her stuff, because I'm not. She has a whole incredible palette of things to share. But one idea that she had that really struck me is this idea that that there are two worlds running parallel all the time. And one is this world of divine light, and one is this shadow world. And the world of divine light is the world that our chakras live in. And it's not a theoretical world. It's not just an energy world or utopic idea that lives in the energy. It is a real world that can be manifest. And it's the world that the ancients teach about. It's the world where all of our wisdom lies. It's the world that if we close our eyes and we remember a time when the earth was peaceful and we lived in harmony, and we actually lived in harmony with nature, and we were fully nourished, and we had access to divine wisdom. And not that divine wisdom wasn't divine up there, it was just human perception, right? This is this world of light, and it's a part of us. And I don't understand it. I don't understand multi-dimensions, really. I mean, I can speak the language and, have a surface conversation about it. But deep down, I don't really understand. Not on a visceral level that I can explain. So when we imagine, that maybe we live in multiple dimensions right now, or maybe the idea that we live in a space-time continuum. So we are experiencing time step by step by step. But if that's an illusion, then all time is actually happening right now. So that maybe this blissful, divine, pure, harmonic state is also happening right now. I don't know. Like, this is all beyond our conceptualization, because our brain is designed to live in this space-time continuum where we only experience one space at a time and one time at a time. So we don't have to live outside of that. But when we imagine these kind of divine states, it's almost like that's where we have to sort of go into a meditation space or sit by the sea and remember that it's real. And that is what informs us in what I want to talk about today. That state exists, that world exists in all of us. And then there's the shadow world. And the shadow world is this world we're living in. And it's not so divine. It's not so full of light. And I think what's really valuable right now, in the year 2022, is to really be honest with ourselves about that. We've had a lot of teachings that say we have to see God in all things. We have to understand all things. We have to be okay with all things. We have to, anything that doesn't look right, oh, that's a reflection of me. It's like, no. It's a cruel world. We've lived for centuries, millennia, in real cruelty and scary, scary places. It's a world of karma. It's a world of repeating really dangerous and damaging patterns. And I'm not talking about this for us to go, oh my God, life sucks. But there's an awareness that we can actually use this and say, it's not me. It's not that my chakras are damaged. It's not that I have issues. I'm living in a war zone, and we've lived in war zones for 2,000 years. And whether it's external politics, whether it's in our own families, whether it's within spiritual communities, whether it's at work, whether it's in school, all of that has been internalized inside of us. And now we even have a war inside where we've been told that we've got a good side and a bad side. And the good side has to battle the bad side. And we have this perpetual war inside of us. This is the shadow world. And so what I love about this idea of considering this divine world, or this world of light, and this shadow world, and how I see it, and this is where I break away from Cindy, because she has an amazing system, and so I don't want to pretend I'm teaching that. But to take this concept into my consciousness, what I see is then there are these beautiful chakras within us, right? And the chakras are part of the world of light. They are eternal. There's nothing we can do to them, right? But here we are, and we're interacting in this very interesting world of the shadow world. So what we have is this interface between this truly divine self and this curious world we've incarnated on. So when we talk about our issues, or when certain things are blocked in our bodies, or when we use our knowledge of the chakras to help, and we get clues from our body, if we have heart issues, if we have sexual organ issues, if we have emotional problems, and we use the wisdom of the chakras to help us heal, to understand that we're not healing our chakras. We're healing the interface that we've had to develop between that light that we are and this curious shadowland that we live in. And there is something so empowering about that, to know that every one of us, no matter how broken we might feel, no matter how lost or alone or struggling or sick or whatever we may feel, there's nothing wrong with us. But we have an interface that we can look at. That's what we can look at. And there is something beautifully empowering about that. And that's where I really want this whole series is all about revisiting what we understand about the chakras through this eye of the light, like through this eye of, what if we focus on our perfection? We don't have to, this isn't bypassing what's amok. We're not ignoring the programs that we've had to put in the interface to survive, right? If we have programs in there, they were put there with purpose. Because why would we're not going to just put them there for no reason, right? We're going to put them there because we require them in order to interface with this world we've come to. But what's really beautiful is, there's so much talk about our ability to heal and grow and rewire our minds, rewire our bodies, rewire our nervous system. And the challenge is when we look and when we focus on that interface and we believe that that interface is us, all those programs that we've integrated into that interface to survive here, when we identify with the interface, that's all we're going to keep rewiring. But it's just an interface. But if we focus on understanding that no, there's real perfection lying within me right now, then it's like we have this beautiful light to observe the interface that perhaps we developed at a time in our life that was different than right now. If I grew up in a home that was really scary or distant or cold, and I should have been receiving nourishment, but I wasn't, I will have set up a program to survive that in some way. Maybe I created a story, or maybe I created this to allow for what was going on to be okay, because it has to be okay because I have to survive. But I'm 52 years old now. And so with the light side, I can look at that and actually say, do I still need this program? It isn't me. If I developed a fear of people or a concern or a very rich inner world because my outer world was completely terrifying, that's okay. But I can look at it now and go, what parts of this can I keep? What parts of this have really made me an interesting, juicy person? What parts of it are holding me back now? Because I'm bigger and stronger and independent and able to connect and able to hear divine guidance. I'm different now. I can now look at that program and discern what's needed and what can be released. So if we look at, today we're talking about the first chakra. In Sanskrit, they call it Muladhara chakra. And what that means, it means the root, the pillar, the post, the place that we stand. So let's imagine our root chakra in its perfection, right? The first chakra is us incarnate on the earth. It is our most physical aspect. It is the reason we have a body. Like this, we talk about it, it's the perineum, it's the coccyx, it's the hips, it's that, that's where it lives. And that's cool. But when we look at what the first chakra really means, this is literally this light being coming into earth. Now I am manifest. How cool is this? Right? Look at me. I'm all human and stuff. That's the first chakra, right? It's like, I got myself a body. How awesome is this? And so now imagine this in the perfect self. It's like, whoa, I'm like made of the same things as the trees. I'm part of Mother Earth. Like, can you feel the earth? This earth is amazing, right? This is amazing. Look, there's trees and rocks and there's mountains and oceans. And look at these berries. This is amazing. And oh my gosh, there's other people here. Ooh, I'm feeling a little something, something for these people. It's like, oh, this earth is awesome, right? Just really feel the first chakra in the light, right? Forget about all the shadow world for now. Let's just feel it in the light, right? It's like, oh, right? This is awesome. Can you feel that sun? Can you feel the water on your body? This is an amazing place, right? This is first chakra. Like, we made it. We got to be an earthling. How cool is this, right? So what does this really feel like? It feels like nourishment. Like I am connected to the mother. I am connected to the earth. And I can wander around. It's like, when dogs, when they roll around on the ground and they just like... So I used to be a dairy farmer, right? And dogs are hilarious on a farm. Like they will find the stinkiest, dirtiest dead thing and roll their neck in it. Like they're just like, it's like, this earth is amazing. And the stinkier it is, the better. Right? Like this is bliss. Like our first chakra has so much potential for absolute, and I'm going to say primal bliss, but not again, we've even bastardized the word primal. It's like, this is the senses. This is the smells of the earth and the taste of food and the feeling of pleasure and the sun on your body. Like this is amazing. The first chakra is our first experience of the earth. We don't have to get into the second chakra and other people and blah, 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 and all that crap. This is just like, oh, I feel so alive. Right? The first chakra is awesome. So now you imagine we come to earth, right? And the Muladhara chakra, right? These are the roots. So now you stand on the earth and you feel these roots coming down out of your perineum, out of your body, down through your legs, down into the earth. And you have these roots like a great tree reaching down into the earth through all of this nutritional soil down into the water of the earth. And it's nourishing us. And it's feeding us, and it's bringing energy into our body, and it's making us feel alive. And it's nourishing every organ, every system, every skin cell, everything, and making us so sensitive to the world around us. So all we do is we just feel the wind. We notice the food. Where do I find the food? Right? It's our human ability to witch for water, to walk along and go, I'm thirsty. And those roots go down into the earth and say, I will turn right and go down over there because there's a stream that I'll find water. And when I go into the woods and I try to look for food and I look through and I feel something and that first chakra energy says, oh, not that. Oh, but this, yes, this is nutritious. Like this is our connection in the earth. If we need nothing else in the whole world, this is a place of pure bliss, right? And it's a really beautiful thing because every one of us still has that. And when we go into nature, right? When we go into the woods and we sit and we feel that quiet and we smell the smells and we hear the sounds of nature and we feel the earth under our feet. That's what nourishes us. Our first chakra comes alive. And we feel like we belong. We feel like we knew we were supposed to feel when we came to earth. Like, oh, I love it here. Right? The first chakra also connects us to our ancestry. Because for whatever reason, we came in with some curious DNA. We have history. And this doesn't have to be negative. It has been. Because our poor ancestors had to live in the shadow world too. But when we dig deep inside and we realize that, wow, the DNA that created me was in the people before me, which was in the people before me, which was in the people before me, that the energy, the definition of me went all the way back to whatever we believe began human life on earth as we know it. Or life on earth as we know it, however we understand that. Right? That's our roots all the way back. That whoever you've ever known on the planet, whatever great person you love, whether it's Jesus, Muhammad, like whoever, right? That our DNA is a part of that DNA somehow. That's really cool. Right? That really, I do belong here. It's a beautiful feeling. And the other big part of this is that once we realize we're here, the first chakra is also how we manifest things, right? So not only were we created and now we exist here, we can have ideas and we can make stuff here. We can build stuff. I could build a canoe and now I can float on water. I could build a house and live in colder areas. I can manifest ideas. This is also first chakra stuff. It's like kids playing in the sandbox. Why is it so fun? Because we're creating stuff. Why do we love Tonka trucks? Creating stuff, right? Like there's a joy. It's a first chakra joy of manifestation, right? It's like, well, why else did we come here? Do stuff. Let's do stuff. Let's climb that mountain. Let's make that thing, right? So this is our first chakra in its beauty, in its truth, in its wholeness. That's what it really is, right? So then we shift gears, and this beautiful energy came to this curious planet that for some reason was overtaken by a shadow world. I don't know why. It doesn't matter. It just is what it is. And in this shadow world, it wasn't really like that. It's kind of scary. And it's not so safe. And there isn't always food. People aren't always nice. And it isn't safe. So what do we do with that? Like, you can almost feel the angst. It's almost like, oh, I don't even want to talk about this part. Let's just talk about the fun stuff. Let's talk about the joy. But it's like, no, but this is reality. This is the weird world we've been living in. And I don't mean, and I'm not saying, the only reason I'm having this conversation, I believe, we'll know better later, is because I think, well, my true belief is I think the shadow world is disappearing. That's what I genuinely believe. Its time is finished here on Earth. Which is why I think the awareness of it has become so high that we're able to see it and say, oh, that's why I've been having all these issues. I get it. My eyes see it now. My eyes see it so clearly, and I no longer think it's about me. Right? So, for example, one of the things that Cindy Dale talks about is that in the shadow world, it's the world of karma. And in the light world, it's the world of dharma. And again, these are huge topics to discuss, which we're not going to talk about today. But if you imagine dharma is simply the path of your soul, and we just live it. No blocks, no twists. We just live our dharma. Whatever our mission is, whatever our joys are, whatever our passions are, we just live our dharma. But the shadow world, for some reason, was created, Maya, however we want to understand it, or maybe, greater, stranger stories about whatever that is. But it was created perhaps for us to work out karma. Or maybe karma was born in the shadow world. I have no idea. But for whatever reason, we had to be in battle. We had to be in some strange arena of life. But I believe that's ending. So now we have to be very clear and say, aha, what have I learned? What did I need to learn? And what can I let go of? Because it's time to let go of it now. So when we come into this world, into this shadow world, we learn first, for perhaps, that it's not safe here. So we have to create a mechanism in our interface around our first chakra that says, this is not a safe place. I have to put up some walls now. This is a very functional adaptation. Right? This is functional. This is the right adaptation to the world we were raised in. Perhaps the family, perhaps the culture. This is correct. Perhaps I adapted and realized, aha, I am the only one that's paying attention to my needs. I must become self-sufficient. I must not depend on anyone else, because I am the only one that's paying attention to my soul's needs, even maybe my human needs. So I've created a program to make sure those needs are met. Maybe I created a program that said, people are very dangerous. Keep your distance. Don't ever let them in. Why did I create this adaptation? Because it was true. Right? This is the challenge, because when we were lost in the shadow world, we thought that we were messed up because we had these programs. We internalized that there was something wrong with me. But this is a healthy adaptation. to reality, right? In theory, human beings are designed to be social creatures. So that healthy adaptation, that healthy chakra could be in nature, but it could also be in a village. You know, imagine, like we always joke about us all getting together and creating our own village. Right? And if we had all this beautiful village, all of our first chakras are all alive and happy and powerful and strong and healthy. And our first chakras are going, okay, what do we need? We need shelter. We need food. We need this. We need that. Yes. Okay, let's do this. And our first chakras manifest this fantastic village. And that's it. It's easy. We all fit. We are all each our wonderful cog in our clock of our village, or whatever we are. And it's easy peasy. And there's something very lovely about that feeling that, I belong to this village. And I not only belong, my gifts fit here. Everything about me fits. And then all of a sudden we have these symbiotic relationships with everyone around us and the world around us and nature and the weather and everything. And we fit. And we never question whether we fit. So there's no such thing as, a lack of confidence or self-worth issues or anything like that, because we fit into this village, which is kind of like the human aspect of nature. Like if you imagine the ecosystem of nature and how all the animals and the trees and everything interact in this symbiotic harmony. The human village is the same thing. But alas, in the shadow world, there is very little village feel. And it's kind of the opposite. We feel completely disconnected. We isolate into tiny little homes or great big empty homes. Our world became very, very, I don't really have to articulate all this. We know this. So all of a sudden, these amazing first chakras that are meant to fit perfectly in the village are in isolation. We're not meant to be in isolation. We're meant to be a part of. We're meant to belong. We're meant to connect with each other in beautiful, harmonious interconnectedness. So it's interesting if you imagine the adaptations we've had to create. And again, not just us, but our ancestors too. Like in the first chakra, we're carrying their stories also, right? So we're carrying their interface as well. So we may have all kinds of weird adaptations to try to make us feel like we're a part of something, but we're not really. And there's a disconnect between, I'm not really in a village, but I'm pretending, and surely this must be good enough. But it isn't, because it isn't real. And which of course drives us up into our head, and not in our head in a healthy way, but in a fantasy, right? And again, these are all just adaptations. This isn't us. Inside, we are this wonderful, divine, pure light space. And the other great challenge of this pure being, and I don't mean pure in some weird way, I mean just genuine light being, is the true first chakra is completely empowered. I exist. I am. We talk a lot about the I am moment. I am. I exist. Yes. Like, yes. And when I exist, I can do anything. I'm going to climb that mountain. I'm going to go have sex with that person. I'm going to go swim in that ocean. I'm going to make tiramisu for dinner. I am going to do anything I want. And again, hear like the language. Well, you can't do anything you want. But of course, in this weird world, the shadow world that we have to interact with, we were taught very early often that you are powerless. And in fact, there's a lot to be afraid of. And if you are afraid, if you try to do something, you're going to be knocked down. So you better not do that. And you better not shine, don't fly too high. And don't do this and don't do that. And what will other people think? And so here becomes the weird dysfunction, right? So part of this interface has this weird emotional component. Because one of the weird things that the shadow world does with our first chakra is it plays on that innocence, right? That childlike, oh, you want to go climb that mountain? Won't that be awesome? And we don't even worry about anything. Because how cool is it that we got to incarnate here? Right? But then suddenly, this idea that, so I'm not powerful? And I'm actually unworthy? And that thing I did was wrong? And you guys are all mad at me? And you're going to kick me out of the village? Or you're not going to like me and the family? And then something really weird was created that we call shame. That we could be shamed for our first chakra desires, our first chakra. I keep wanting to say innocence, naivety of just, but aren't we just here to create things? Why is there all this confusion? Why are you trying to tell me I shouldn't do this? Why are you trying to make me feel bad about myself? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then suddenly this interface became this shame thing. And it's not real. Like when you really tune in with that and you go back in the ancestry, it's like some weird idea that took hold, but it has no basis in reality. When we really look at this shadow world for what it really is, it's nonsense. Every single one of us is literally an incarnate being. Shame has no place in that, right? And yet, it can be used to control us. Control an infinite being. And that's what I mean. Like there's something, and don't get me wrong, I have been controlled my whole life. I've been a people pleaser. I've been a peacekeeper. I have tried to respect authority. I've tried to do the right thing. I have done everything I possibly could. I have been 100% under the gun of this and heavily controlled by shame. And that's why I'm so intrigued by this different consciousness that we can access now that says, like, it's literally like in my mind, it's like, that's not even real. It's so obvious. It's almost like the Shadowland came out of the shadows. And it's nothing. It's like, in cartoons, I have this picture of somebody lying in their bedroom and there's a shadow coming out of the closet and it's so big and scary and it's totally terrifying. And then you see it's just this little mouse holding a piece of cheese. That's what it feels like. All the power that this Shadowland once had, it's coming out of the shadows. It's not real. It's nothing. So then all of a sudden these fears and these emotional things that once held us, and it's like, are you trying to frighten me? Are you trying to shame me? Is that why you're saying this? Like, it's actually like I get this weird giggle inside of me, like, really? Which is so new and so entertaining to me. because it's just not real anymore. And so what this does is when we have this, because we have this still in the interface. And there might be a lot of us, a lot of parts of each of us that are still identifying with that interface because that's what we were taught. You know, that if I have huge walls to people, I have huge walls to people because I am a frightened person. Or I, had shitty parents and I just had a crappy upbringing and I had all this stuff happen and now I have walls and I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. And it's like, no, you built really excellent walls because you were being attacked. That's awesome. That shows your power. That shows the strength of your being. And now we're able to look at it and go, oh, good, I don't need that anymore. But that's a process. That's a gentle process. So, they talk about the Kundalini in the body and how the Kundalini is this latent energy that lies within us. And they say that it lives at our fourth vertebrae. That at the fourth vertebrae, there's this nerve plexus where all these nerves come together in the whole body. And so physically, it's central for the nervous system. But energetically, they call this the khanda. And it's like a bulb. And from there, all the energy nadis, the nadi just means energy channel. These energy channels run through the whole body. And this is how prana is delivered throughout the body. This is what animates this incredible incarnation that we are. And this is where the Kundalini lies coiled. Lies coiled at the base of the spine, right? Well, what's really interesting is this khanda is also connected to the first chakra. So whether you do practice, maybe you do Kundalini yoga. I mean, you don't have to do Kundalini yoga. I like it, but whatever practice you do that awakens that Kundalini, what happens is, and again, awakening the Kundalini doesn't have to be, and it doesn't have to be something wild. Like it's like, I need to do something to awaken my Kundalini. Like one, don't do that. If there's anything I can recommend, don't do anything extreme to awaken your Kundalini. When I first started teaching Kundalini yoga, one of the great challenges is when this information started seeping into Western culture, we are so, we're just always looking for the quick fix, right? Or it's an ego trip or something. So people would go away to some kind of retreat, and they would fast for a few days, stand on their head, do all these things, live in sensory deprivation or whatever. They would do all these things and they would chant for 5 hours. They would do all these things to awaken the Kundalini. I'm going to awaken that Kundalini. Well, now you imagine our bodies, our divine selves, have in all of its great wisdom created a solid interface to live in this nutty shadowland. Right? We created this interface with great intelligence and wisdom. Well, and then we think, okay, well, I'm going to keep that interface in place because the shadow world's nutters. But I want to awaken my Kundalini and pretend I'm living in pure light land and that I'm fully integrated. So we go away and we do all these extreme things because I want to awaken the Kundalini. And whatever they do, sometimes it doesn't always work, but sometimes it happens. And this Kundalini goes crashing through all of these really important strongholds in our psyche. And people have mental breaks, or suddenly they can't connect with their family anymore, and they don't want to work anymore, and they don't want to do this, and they can't even understand, their whole community doesn't support them anymore, or something like this huge thing happens. And it's like, That's not how it's supposed to work. Right? We're meant to be so much more gentle with ourselves. Like, doing that assumes that we've done something wrong, that the interface that we've created is dysfunctional, and that we need to just blast it out of there. We just need a cannon. We need an atomic bomb to get rid of all the stupid things we've done in our life. Like, this is all this inner war stuff we've internalized. So imagine instead we really harness the power that we really are. And all we have to do to awaken the Kundalini is want to. All we need to do is have the intention. That we bring all of this perfection within us. We connect with this 7th chakra. When we'll go through all of these, the 6th chakra, all of these places where we receive such divine wisdom if we can hear it. And we set that intention. Well, that Kundalini is part of you. It's our 1st chakra. And if our first chakra prayer, our 1st chakra wish is, I want to feel connected to the earth. I want to feel joy in being here. I want to feel nourished by the world around me. I want to feel connected to the village. I want to feel connected to the earth. I want to manifest here. I want to create things with my gifts. What if that's all we did? And that was our prayer every day. That was our meditation. I want to live in my full 1st chakra expansive self. I want to feel completely alive for as long as I get to be here on earth. What is going to happen in this beautiful khanda, this beautiful place of the Kundalini? That Kundalini is you. It's not some external energy that must be awoken by fancy ritual. This is you. This is your life force. And your life force says, aha, well, let's make this happen. And we have incredible wisdom inside of us. And then that Kundalini starts to go, all right. And you know what's like? One of the things I love about Taoism is the teaching that the water always lies in the lowest places, and it flows where it can. And this is the power of the Tao. So if you imagine the Kundalini like the Tao, your primal life force. When we are gentle, when we allow ourselves to flow at the speed of life, at the speed of our own consciousness, then that energy will flow wherever it can, just like water flowing down a mountain. And it will go into the places, that Kundalini will go into the places that are ready. And then it will start to feel joy, right? And then it will start to expand. But then as we start to feel joy and expand, natural things will happen. We'll start to go, wow, you know what? I would actually love to learn to play the piano. And then all of a sudden, maybe you say, I mentioned this in my What If You Could Skip the Cancer book. And then someone says, well, you can't do that. That's stupid. But you have this new little joy piece. Like, this Kundalini is now living in a very healthy place inside of you. And then you see this other person and you think, that's weird. I wonder why you would try to talk me out of this. Or maybe it's inside. Maybe it's a fear that rises inside, right? That says, no, we can't do that. Or you'll never find someone. Or you'll never be who you really want to be. Or whatever, right? But that Kundalini starts to move that. And so then this is the true healing path. in an organic way, the challenge is brought up to us. And bit by bit, that Kundalini energy starts to look at all of these programs in the interface and says, maybe you don't need to hold on to that any longer. Maybe you don't need that program. Maybe you don't need to be afraid of all people. Maybe lots of people you don't want to trust and open your heart to, but maybe there are some people. But it can be very gentle. You know, our bodies are organic beings. And all of those interfaces, all of those programs that were developed over time, they're all interconnected. You know, they're all woven in. One, they were built on top of each other. They're like this. We don't want to go after them with a bomb. We want to be able to gently just move them out a little. And then as we move them out a little, then we live for a while, right? Then we go out and we do fun things and we do something new. And then other things loosen. Then other things loosen. And a little bit more light gets into that space. But it doesn't have to be hard. You know? And then that Kundalini starts to roll. And again, it's like we've watched too many weird movies. Like we think that the Kundalini rising is going to be like a positive version of The Exorcist or something, you know, and we're just going to be like, you know, kind of like that. And it can be really euphoric and ecstatic and all that kind of thing. Or it can just be this moment where you're sitting watching a sunset and you actually exhale, you know, for the first time in 10 years. And you go home and you have a good night's sleep. And in the morning you find the words to say whatever it is you wanted to say to that person. Like, it's very gentle. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Do I do Kundalini yoga practice? I've been teaching Kundalini yoga for a long, long time. We even have a teacher training happening right now that will happen again in the fall, which is a very fun, deep dive. How can we gently get our Kundalini to rise? Yeah, like we can talk about, like, you know, just the sheer intention, but you know, when you think of the senses, you know, and you actually feel things, like you actually, and it can be anything. It can be eating your food and just really tasting it. And it sounds so, it feels like a cheap answer that we've kind of heard a million times. But it's more than that. It's actually like looking at this food. Like I have a friend who, we were talking about how to connect with the earth, and she lives downtown Toronto, you know, on the 9th floor of an apartment building kind of thing. But she's super earthy. And for her, when she goes grocery shopping, and you know, it's mostly plants and berries and stuff like that. She doesn't eat much processed food. I don't think she eats any processed food actually, and when she looks at this food, she looks at the broccoli and the berries and the eggs and whatever, she sees this all as the manifest creations of the earth. Like these berries were grown from the earth. You know, this broccoli was grown from the earth. This rice was grown from the earth. And it's now in my home. And it's now going to nourish my body. And I loved that. I loved that idea that the simple act of going and looking in your fridge and looking at this food that literally was once connected to the earth, had roots down into the mother and was grown this beautiful fruit, this beautiful food. And it's now coming in to nourish us. You know, it can be something so simple. You know, it can be something like, you know, I've told you guys I love having hot baths. And I can be very, very cerebral. So to do anything for me that connects me with my senses, if I can't be in nature or I can't be swimming in the sea, and anything that connects me with my senses brings me back to that place, right? So I will go and I'll fill up my tub with warm water, with hot water, and maybe I put in something lovely and smelly, or I put in sea salt. I like sea salt. Maybe I'll put a scented candle, and maybe I'll even put on light music in the background, like classical music. And it's literally this feast of my senses, right? Like I get to hear soothing sounds, I get to smell, I get to feel, you know, and you can even taste it, you know, and what's interesting is what is this doing? It's nourishing that first chakra. That's where the Kundalini is. It's nourishing it. It's almost like you imagine it. They often talk about it like they think of the Kundalini like a snake, right? Which I know has also been co-opted into something wrong. But it's like you imagine, so here, you know, we're in the tub and there's the beautiful smells and there's the beautiful sounds and there's the beautiful feeling. And this lovely little snake is going, this is so fantastic. Right? It's like, and whatever that is for you, every one of us is different, right? It just simply walking on the earth barefoot, exactly like Taylor says, like just anything. It could be, I love lying on the grass. You know that feeling like you're lying on the grass and it smells, and it sounds so silly that I'm saying this, but it smells like grass. And it smells like earth. And you can almost feel the earthworms in it. And you're just like lying there and it's cool on your face. Like that is so, oh, it's so lovely. You know? But it's just about finding whatever our specific joy is, which may be very dependent on where we live in the earth. For some people, like it's like even if you live in a snowy place, you know that sound of the crunch on the snow. And even snow has a smell, you know. Lying naked on the grass, that's even better. Basking in moonlight, exactly. Like it's literally whatever returns us to our root, the Muladhara, right? And I don't want to get really academic about it, but that it nourishes us. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day, wherever you are. And we'll see you in the group, or we'll see you Friday or next week.